Hey, what's up? My name is Maraya Karena, and I am a teacher on reality, consciousness, human interactions, and codependency. I have a course that you can check out called Transforming Codependency, where we really address the root causes. And I've been making this video series sort of unpacking some of my research around codependency. And so I did one video really understanding that the root of codependency is a sense of spiritual emptiness, of self-fragmentation, of separation. And so I highly encourage you to check out that video. I also made another video about how another deep stream that leads to codependency is being in the Cartman triangle, the victim consciousness drama triangle, either in victim, abuser, or rescuer, and about how there's sort of like an emotional addiction that can come to playing out those dynamics. And so I highly encourage you to check out that video. And then this one, I'm going to be talking about what I feel is the third pillar of codependency, which is something that Adidas Samraj has called the wound of love. And this idea of the wound of love is that instead of coming from this place of I love you, we are stuck in this state of being, this frame of consciousness that is, you don't love me, or why don't you love me, or you don't love me. And the real question to understand whether or not you're engaging in codependent behavior, and normally I don't like being so diagnostic of like, this is codependent and that is not codependent, because I feel like it can sort of key into certain frames that we are used to perceiving the world through of, am I doing it right or am I doing it bad? Which of course is part of codependency. Part of codependency is this sort of obsession with trying to do it right and trying to be good. It also keys into a mode of viewing humans in the world as identifying with a solid state, being like, I am a codependent, as opposed to understanding yourself as a process, like I am engaging in certain patterns of behavior or certain experiences that fit into this stream that we call codependent. So normally I don't like being so diagnostic, but I find that it helps because the real codependent leap happens precisely at this moment when you feel that feeling, when you believe that belief, when you experience that experience of they don't love me, right? They don't love me. Why don't they love me? They don't love me. However it is that it's coming out, that's where that codependent leap, what I call the codependent leap, or sometimes it's just a little hop, happens. Because what do you do when you think that thought? And the characteristic one of the defining features of codependent behavior is that you then start engaging all of your strategies, all of your systems to try and get the person to love you. And whatever those systems are, whatever those strategies are, is going to be different for every one of us. Some person might do a bunch of really nice things for the other person. Another person might throw a fit. Another person might completely attack themselves to see if that elicits love from the other person. Whatever we do in that codependent hop is going to be unique to each of us, but it's the hop itself that defines codependency. It's the fact that you are experiencing unlove from another person, whether that's real or imagined. You are perceiving unlove from another person, and then your reaction, your response is to try and get love from them. And so you're experiencing pain in that moment of not being loved. And inside of that pain, the only reason why you have that pain is because there's a deep desire to be loved. There's a deep desire to be loved. And so much of our life, so much of our behavior is an outgrowth of the way in which we're understanding a problem, the way in which we're framing a problem, and then the question or the quest that is emergent from the way that we're framing the problem, right? So in that codependent hop, the codependent says, I am experiencing pain from not being loved. I have this huge desire to be loved, and therefore, what can I do to get love? The problem is this person isn't loving me. The question is, what can I do to get this person to love me? And that's everything. That is anxious attachment styles. That is like emotional addiction. That is like abuse behavior. That is keeping ourselves small. That is like so much pain of human relating comes down to the fact that the question is, what can I do to get this person to love me? What can I do to get this person to like me, to think I'm attractive, to give me the validation I seek? That is what keeps us in spiritual immaturity, in craving, in aversion, in trying to get things from the outside world that it might not be the best, most efficient source to be getting that from, right? Because the thing is, if a person desires love, I think the question is why? What is the desire inside that? Who would you be if you got that love? Why are you trying to get this love? And I highly encourage you to do this with yourself right now. Get out a pen and a paper. Get out a pen and a paper right now and ask yourself, what is the desire inside of the desire for love? And whatever it is, accept yourself. It's like, I want to be validated. I want to be beautiful. I want to have a family. I want to have a life. I want revenge. Who gives a fuck, right? Whatever it is, write it out right now. And now go one level deeper and think to yourself, what is the desire inside of that? Right? Let's say it's like, I just want them to like love and appreciate me for everything I've done for them. Why? What's the desire inside of that? What would you get if they loved and appreciated you? Write it for yourself. Write it for yourself. You know, for me, it's like, if someone really loved me and really appreciated me, then I'd be able to shine. Then I'd be able to bring out the unique form of love that runs through me. Well, now what's the desire inside of that? What would be so good, so meaningful, so ecstatic about being able to bring out the unique kind of love that runs through me? And it's like, then I'd be connected. Then I'd get to be in spiritual communion and bliss. Then I'd get to just be like dancing in pleasure. Well, what's so good about that? Right? Let's do it 3 times. What's so good about that? What's the desire inside of that? And it's like, then if I was like dancing in pleasure, then I'd be completely, for me, I'm woo, right? So for me, it's like I'd be completely rocked by the divine. I'd be in like complete surrender to the divine. Well, now I can come up with a different question, right? Now the question is, how can I live my life to be in communion with the divine? How can I live my life in a way that allows that unique form of love to come moving through me? Because there's something right in wanting love, right? There's something right about me wanting love, but not trying to get it from this other person. There's something right about me being in ecstatic communion, surrendering to the energy that runs through me, being rocked by the divine, being in ecstatic union. That's where there's something right about it. That's why I'm seeking love. I'm seeking it from this other person, but seeking from this other person is like this really thin level of this deeper thing that I'm seeking. Truly what I'm seeking is like a container, is a situation, is the light of another person's love in order to bring this thing out of me, in order to blossom my flower, as I've called it before. And really knowing that the deep desire in my heart is to allow that flower to blossom, allow this flower to blossom through me, then I can put myself in those situations. Then I can make my entire life in ecstatic surrender to trying to enable the circumstances that would bring that forth. And I can feel it. It's like, well, sure. I can do all this stuff for myself, but I really want it from another person. Or maybe you're like, but I've, bloomed my flowers so much. I really want it from this other person. And when you feel attracted to someone, of course, it's going to be like, but I want it from them. Like you see the possibility of a gorgeous, meaningful, deep relationship with someone. It's like, but I want that relationship. And then you got to like recalibrate and come back to center. And that's why it's a spiritual practice to be the love you seek, to be an ever unfolding, gradual process of becoming the love that you seek, right? But it's like, I want it from another person. And of course, we know that the more that we are that, the more that it eases the pathway of being able to find that, the more it allows us to be in a healthy relationship with ourselves, to get less caught, less hooked, less likely to make that codependent leap when we see someone. But even more importantly, I think the point is when you do this work to process what your desire, alchemize what your desire actually is. First of all, have the self-awareness to notice when you're making the hop, right? But second of all, do this inner work to process the desire itself. Then it becomes something much more about the internal state that you're seeking instead of the external circumstances that you're trying to manifest, right? Like I have had relationships that on the outside looked exactly like what I wanted to manifest. It was with someone who was successful. It was something that looked very good from the outside. But the internal experience started slipping away from what I wanted. And at the end of the day, what matters is our internal experience. It matters so much more than what something looks like on the outside. You get whatever it is that you're desiring and it feels hollow, that will kill you slowly from the inside. And so the more that you do this work to alchemize your desires, what is the unique signature of love that comes through me? What is the unique dream that I have that makes me so willing to chase after these people trying to get it? You know what that is? You anchor that internal experience inside, and then you're that much more able to be like, oh, is this internal experience really happening on the outside? And obviously there's so much work that we need to do in learning how to process through conflict, how to process through stuck points with our partner. But the guiding GPS, the North Star of that is this internal experience of knowing ourselves, knowing our gifts, knowing what we're seeking, knowing what it feels like when things are healthy and thriving. And then, of course, there are all of these communication, interpersonal skills and muscles that we build to be able to work through the hard times when that's not happening with someone, and to being able to really fine tune our understanding of when we're the ones poisoning the well, when it's worthwhile to work it out with them, being able to assess whether they're showing up, whether we're really showing up at our highest, right? All of that is like the next level that is based on this foundation of a cyclical internal process of coming back again, 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 again to our love, to knowing ourselves, to when am I just seeking them to love me versus when am I really coming back to center, understanding the love that I am, understanding the love that I seek, giving that back to myself. So you're doing all this stuff. Why aren't they coming? Right? That's a noble question. But the real thing is, are you doing it for real? Do you know the internal experience you're seeking? Are you making your entire life a generator of that experience? Are you committing whole soul and heart to making that experience the central devotion of your life, making everything that you engage in, your career, your friendships, your activities, your nature, your creativity, your practices? Are you making everything a generator, a circumstance that enables you to bring that forth in yourself? Because the other thing is, I've noticed when people want a partner, they become more conservative because they're playing it safe, because they're trying to attract more people, because they're trying to do that strategy to get more love that is often making, especially for women, making yourself smaller, making yourself nicer, making what you want a little bit less. We become more conventional when we're looking for a partner as a way of playing it safe, as opposed to really going balls out, tits out, whatever, into self-actualizing. That's when we're really doing it. And that's when we're able to be less attached about whether or not it comes from the specific person. That's what readies the path for someone amazing to come. That what makes us more of a refined sensor about whether this relationship is really giving us magic, whether it's really enabling the type of magic that we have inside of us. So all of that is to say that I think all of this starts with that first noticing of that feeling, experience, belief, thought, they don't love me. Catching yourself in it and noticing, what do you do in that moment when you think they don't love me? And then doing the work, what love am I really seeking? And then making your entire life a committed, devoted process of blossoming your own flower and bringing forth your own love. All right, so much love to you all. Mwah. Onwards and magic.